Let's get one thing clear right away. Being a smart woman was never about how many degrees hang on your wall or how flawlessly you seem to handle life. It runs deeper than that. It's about the way you show up for yourself, the way you think, the choices you make when no one is watching, and the life you build that makes you proud when you look back on it. There are 5 principles that separate the women who merely get by from the women who truly thrive. These aren't feel-good slogans. They are practical, repeatable habits. Habits that build confidence, earn respect, and create a life that is unmistakably your own. Let's walk through them one at a time, and then we'll go deep on the 2 that trip people up the most: confidence and boundaries. Principle 1. Confidence is built, not born. Here's the myth we need to bury. First, confidence is not something you're handed at birth. It's not a personality type. It's a skill, and like every skill, it's built through repetition. Every time you stand up for yourself, every time you act despite being afraid, every time you trust yourself to handle whatever life throws at you, you're adding a rep to that muscle. The smartest women aren't the ones who never feel self-doubt. They're the ones who've simply stopped letting doubt make their decisions for them. Principle 2. Emotional intelligence over reaction. The second principle is emotional intelligence, the ability to pause before you react. Most conflict, most regret, most burned bridges come from responding out of raw impulse instead of clarity. A woman who has mastered this doesn't suppress her emotions. She simply doesn't let them drive the car. She takes a breath, reads the situation, and responds with intention instead of chaos. That single habit, the pause before the reply, is one of the fastest ways to earn respect in any room you walk into. Principle 3. Financial independence is non-negotiable. The third principle is one too many women still put off: financial independence. If you want real freedom, you cannot outsource your financial future to someone else. You don't need to be wealthy. You need to be informed. Where is your money going? How much of it is being saved? Is any of it being invested? A woman who understands her own numbers is a woman who can't be controlled by them. Financial dependence quietly narrows your options, sometimes without you even noticing, until you need one of those options, and it isn't there. Principle 4. Boundaries are not optional. The fourth principle will change your life the moment you actually apply it: setting and enforcing boundaries. A smart woman is not a professional people pleaser. She doesn't say yes to everything that lands on her plate. She doesn't let people who drain her stay close. She knows her worth, and she's comfortable saying no when something doesn't align with her values or her well-being. The day you stop letting people walk past your limits is the day you step fully into your own power. Principle 5. Never stop learning. The world doesn't wait for anyone to catch up. If you're not learning, you're quietly falling behind, even if it doesn't feel that way yet. A smart woman reads, listens, asks questions, and stays open to ideas that challenge her own. She lets curiosity outrank pride. She adjusts instead of digging in. And because of that, she keeps becoming a better version of herself instead of a frozen one. So, here's the summary before we go deeper. Being smart was never about knowing everything. It's about choosing to build confidence, mastering your emotional responses, taking charge of your money, holding your boundaries, and staying a student of life. It's about deciding today that you are capable and deserving of a life you actually love. That version of you already exists. This is just about letting her run the show. Deep dive, confidence. Let's slow down on confidence, because it's the principle everything else stands on. Confidence isn't about feeling sure of yourself in every moment. It's about deciding that no matter what happens, you'll figure it out. Smart women don't wait to feel ready before they act. They act first, and the confidence catches up afterward. Every time you push through fear and uncertainty, you're proving something to yourself. That proof is what confidence is actually made of. Think about the last time you did something for the first time. Maybe you spoke up in a meeting you'd normally stay quiet in. Maybe you went somewhere alone. Maybe you made a call that scared you. In that moment, you probably felt unprepared, maybe even shaky. But you did it anyway, and you survived it. It wasn't perfect, but what you walked away with mattered more than perfection. Proof that you can handle hard things. That proof compounds. That's confidence. One of the most common mistakes people make is believing confidence has to arrive before success. It doesn't work that way. Confidence is downstream of action, of showing up for yourself again and again, of pushing past what you once assumed you couldn't do. Your brain, by design, is wired to keep you safe, not to help you grow. It doesn't care about your ambitions. It cares about avoiding discomfort. That's exactly why stepping outside your comfort zone triggers a flood of doubt. What if I fail? What if I embarrass myself? What if I'm just not good enough? Here's what smart women understand that others don't. Those thoughts are not facts. They're fear, dressed up as logic, trying to keep you small. The way through is simple to say and hard to do. You act anyway. You take the first step before you feel ready. Because readiness is a myth waiting for permission that never arrives. Confidence doesn't come before courage. Courage comes first, and confidence is the reward waiting on the other side of it. Failure is not the opposite of confidence. We need to talk about failure because it's one of the biggest things quietly sabotaging women's confidence. Somewhere along the way, many of us were taught that getting it wrong the first time meant we weren't good enough. Smart women reject that framing entirely. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's a required ingredient of it. Every mistake, every setback, every rejection is simply feedback, information you can use to adjust and keep moving. Picture the most confident woman you know. She wasn't handed that confidence at birth. She's been knocked down, she's doubted herself, she's faced real setbacks, but she kept going anyway. Each obstacle she pushed through made her sturdier. That's what real confidence actually looks like. It isn't the absence of fear. It's refusing to let fear be the one making your decisions. So how do you actually build it day to day? You practice on purpose. You speak up even when your voice shakes a little. You make decisions without over-explaining yourself to justify them. You take up space without apologizing for the room you're in. And most importantly, you stop waiting for someone else's permission. Confident women don't need outside approval to go after what they want. They trust themselves enough to move without it. Another lever worth pulling: stop comparing yourself to other people's timelines and highlight reels. The second you start measuring your worth against someone else's life, you hand over your own power. Real confidence isn't sourced from social media, external approval, or being better than someone else. It's sourced from knowing you're enough exactly as you are, doubts included. Confidence as a daily decision. Confidence isn't a feeling you either have or don't have on a given morning. It's a decision you make repeatedly. It's choosing every single day to believe you're worthy and capable even on the days it doesn't feel true yet. One of the most common traps is waiting to feel confident before taking action. Telling yourself you'll speak up when you feel more prepared or go after the opportunity when you feel ready. But action comes first. You build confidence by doing the thing that scares you over and over until it stops scaring you. Every time you show up despite uncertainty, you gather more proof that you're capable. That's the actual mechanism. Then there's self-doubt, the quiet voice insisting you're not smart enough, not ready enough, destined to embarrass yourself if you try. That voice isn't giving you information, it's lying to keep you comfortable. The only way to quiet it is to stop negotiating with it and act anyway. When it says, you can't do this, the answer is, watch me. When it says, what if you fail? The answer is, then I'll learn and go again. Confidence also comes from keeping the small promises you make to yourself. Every time you say you'll do something and you follow through, even something minor, you build a track record of trusting your own word. That's why the most self-assured women aren't the ones who talk the most about their plans. They're the ones who quietly execute on them without waiting for motivation, permission, or a green light from anyone else. Body language plays a bigger role here than people give it credit for. Confidence doesn't live only in your mind. It lives in your posture. How you carry yourself into a room speaks before you say a single word. Shoulders back, chin level, steady eye contact. You don't have to feel confident to look confident, and the strange trick is that looking confident tends to make you start feeling it. The way you hold your body genuinely shifts the way you think and feel about yourself. And finally, failure again, because it bears repeating. Every confident woman you admire has failed more times than she could count. The difference is she never let a single failure define her worth. She treated it as proof she was trying, learning, and moving forward, not as a verdict on who she is. Deep dive boundaries. Now, let's go deep on boundaries, because this is where most women get stuck. Boundaries are not walls built to shut people out. They're guidelines that communicate how you expect to be treated. Their purpose isn't exclusion, it's protection of your peace, your time, and your energy. Too many women are raised to be people pleasers, to say yes when they mean no, to avoid friction at any cost, to put everyone else's needs ahead of their own. But here's the uncomfortable truth. If you don't set your own boundaries, someone else will set them for you, and you won't like the terms. That's the path to feeling drained, resentful, and quietly exhausted by your own life. At their core, boundaries are about respect, self-respect first. You can't expect anyone else to honor limits you don't honor yourself. Many women feel guilty setting boundaries because they've been taught it makes them selfish or cold. Smart women know the opposite is true. A boundary is an act of self-care and a quiet declaration of confidence. It tells the world plainly, this is what I accept, and this is what I don't. How to actually set one. Start by getting honest about what your limits actually are. What drains your energy? What leaves you feeling disrespected? What have you been tolerating that you shouldn't be? If something consistently leaves you feeling uneasy, exhausted, or taken for granted, that's the signal that a boundary needs to go up. Next comes communication. And this is where most people overcomplicate things. You don't need a speech. You don't need to justify yourself with a paragraph of reasons. A clear, calm sentence is enough. That doesn't work for me. I can't take that on right now. I need some time to myself. No lengthy apology, no guilt-laced explanation. Just a direct, firm statement. That's more than sufficient. Enforcing it is the hard part. Stating a boundary is one thing, holding it when someone pushes back is another entirely, and people will push back, especially the ones who benefited from you having no boundaries in the first place. They may guilt-trip you, argue with you, or try to make you feel like the unreasonable one. None of that is a signal to back down. If anything, it's confirmation you're doing exactly the right thing. A boundary isn't about controlling someone else's behavior. It's about managing your own response to it. You don't set a limit and then just hope people respect it. You set it and you act if it's crossed. If a friend keeps dumping their problems on you but never shows up for you in return, you stop being available on demand. If a coworker keeps offloading extra work onto your plate, you start saying plainly, that's not something I can take on right now. Guilt is usually the biggest obstacle here, and it makes sense. If you've spent years putting everyone else first, choosing yourself is going to feel unfamiliar, maybe even wrong at first. But your time matters, your energy matters, your peace matters. Anyone who genuinely values you will respect the limits you set. The people who get upset about your boundaries are, almost without exception, the ones who are quietly benefiting from you having none. Here's the payoff. The moment you start actually enforcing boundaries, your confidence grows in tandem. You stop feeling like a passenger in other people's expectations and start feeling like the one driving your own life. You feel lighter. You start attracting people who respect you as you are, rather than people who only stuck around for your lack of limits. Ultimately, boundaries teach people how to treat you. They say, I matter, my needs are legitimate, and I won't settle for less than I deserve. You don't need anyone's permission to protect your own energy. You just need to decide that it's non-negotiable. Recognizing where boundaries are needed. If you're not sure where to start, pay attention to where resentment, frustration, or exhaustion keep showing up in your life. Those emotions are data. They're pointing directly at the place a boundary is missing. Maybe it's a friendship that only ever takes. Maybe it's a family member who ignores your personal space. Maybe it's a work obligation quietly eating your time. Once you name it clearly, you can start doing something about it. And when you do communicate the boundary, do it with certainty, not apology. There's a real difference between saying, I'm so sorry, but I just really can't, and saying, I need this time for myself. The first invites negotiation. The second closes the door on it. Setting a boundary with hesitation leaves room for people to argue you out of it. Setting it with confidence makes clear it isn't up for debate. Not everyone will like your boundaries, and that's fine. It was never their approval you needed. The people who genuinely care about you will honor them without a fight. The ones who resist are almost always the ones who profited from you having none, and managing their reaction was never actually your job. Your job is protecting your own peace. At the end of the day, this isn't about shutting people out. It's about protecting what actually matters: your time, your energy, your mental health, your sense of self. Master this one skill and you'll notice the shift almost immediately. Lighter, steadier, more in control, no longer living life on someone else's terms.